Hey there. This is a gentle yin class, and meaning gentle, I won't hold the stuff as long as we do in the regular yin, which is 5 to 7 minutes. We'll go a little bit shorter, and that gives us opportunity to do more of the poses and kind of go from a more gentle version to a little bit deeper, but they're all very supported. So I'm using a blanket, a bolster, and 2 blocks. So blanket, any kind of blanket is fine. It doesn't have to be a yoga Mexican blanket at all. A bolster, if you don't have one, you can use big pillows. A king size pillow off the bed is about the width. It's obviously not as high, but maybe you could put 2 together. Or cushions from your couch, or just a bunch of, throw pillows kind of stuck together. So just, and even if you don't have king size pillows, standard pillows work too. So just find yourself a bunch of pillows, a blanket, and if you don't have blocks, then grab like a big stack of books. Hopefully you have some of those at home. Something that will elevate you, because we're going to do some things that I want to elevate so that it's nice and gentle. All right, so I'm going to start us out with the bolster. So put your bolster long ways like this, and then take the 2 blocks or stack of books and bring it behind to create a little diagonal ledge like this. So we're going to take a reclined fish, a supported fish pose with the bolster up to start with. And so all you want to do is just put your back up against the corner, recline all the way down, make sure your head feels really supported, and then you want your shoulders and chest to open, so just flip your palms up and let your elbows drop. You can either bring your feet together so that you make a little butterfly shape. In yoga we call it a cobbler. If this bothers your hips, if your hips are on the tighter side, a couple things. You could stick some pillows underneath your thighs or some books there, or you could just straighten your legs out too. So just let your chest fall open. Check that your head is nice and heavy. And then once you feel like you found it, that place where you're really comfortable and you can relax, take a deep cleansing breath. So in through your nose deeply and out through your mouth fully. Now just close your lips and breathe if you can in and out through the nose. And you want to breathe very slowly, but also very softly. So even though you're breathing slow, you're not trying to take a big full breath. So if you do, you'll end up getting lightheaded. So you just want to feel that the breath is slow and that the inhale connects to the exhale and then the exhale connects to the inhale. You're just taking your time to bring the air in and then to release your air out. And I'll just keep talking about the breath for a few more moments, and all you need to do is lie here in stillness. So we breathe in usually about 50% of what we could, because we don't want a full inhalation because it will make us feel dizzy. But we want to breathe out as much as we comfortably can. So you're not trying to push the air out, but you do want to feel that you're pretty empty. That means your exhales will be a little bit longer than your inhales. And with your eyes closed, start to notice that space between your eyebrows. It's a place oftentimes we kind of scrunch and make a face with, even when nothing's wrong. And so see if you can soften that space. Once we soften that space, it's like everything down below gets a little cue that it can relax too. So it might start at your eyelids. They get really smooth. And then it's like your cheeks get smooth and your lips get soft. You just let your awareness travel all the way down. And it's great to scan the body. So we think like, yeah, I'm totally relaxed here. But if you start at the top and let your attention travel slowly to every part of you, you'll probably discover there are some places that are holding on and you didn't even know it. So when we find that place, it's not a big deal. It's supernatural that we do that. But stop there with your awareness for a little while, like hit the pause button and see if you can find a way to relax that place. You know, sometimes it might even make it so you really do need to like change the posture or wiggle around in some way. Sometimes it's just like I can let go. I don't know why I was holding on right there feeling. And what's really nice about that too is you'll start to discover where you just have a tendency to hold tension. And so when you're not in your yoga practice and you're out doing life, you can stop and scan once in a while and then notice if you are holding on in places that you don't really have to do what you're doing at the time. These yin poses don't stay the same, so the way we feel at the start isn't the way we feel at the end. So you're just kind of relaxing more, adjusting when needed, and seeing how sensations change. And there's this rise and fall of your belly and your chest as you're breathing. You can feel your lungs expand and contract. Feel your sits bones heavy into your mat. Counting backwards can be very calming for us. So right now, count backwards 10 of your breaths, feeling like with each descending number, you're becoming heavier around the pose and more relaxed all over. Get to the last breath, just really experience how you're feeling. We're only going to stay here a few more moments, so try to savor it. And then take a little bit of movement and that will help you wake up. So usually I start with fingers and toes and then rolling into wrists and ankles. And be mindful to come out of this. So we use our abs, tuck the chin, and the hands and arms support us. So just press yourself up. And you can bring your legs just hips distance and bring your hands by your sides. This is staff pose and you just want to take a moment here. This creates a neutral position in the body. Maybe another cleansing breath right here. Then we're going to keep our bolster just like it is, propped up on the blocks. And we're going into a gentle spinal twist. So take both of your knees over to the right and then bring your right hip up against the edge of the bolster. You're going to frame the bolster with your hands. So one hand on the back side, one on the front side. We go ahead and find a twist, thinking about your left rib coming down toward the bolster. And then just lie down. So, more gentle. Bring your arms down and let your right ear just rest. If you want to go more deeply, then turn your head the other way, which brings you more into a neck stretch. And so you can choose one for now, but it's totally fine to change your mind in the middle at any point and turn your head the opposite direction. So adjust your hands, put them wherever you need to feel like your arms are heavy and your shoulders are dropping. We never want our shoulders up by the ears because that means we're tensing the neck and the traps. And these are places that normally just kind of hold tension anyway. And it's definitely not needed in this pose. Try to connect to the feeling of this helix, this spiral that starts at your tailbone and travels up to your skull. Keeping your spine flexible is one of the best things you can do for your body and your nervous system. And come back to your breath. So just breathing in and out through your nose, slowly, but long. Trying to empty yourself, so you want the exhale to extend out. And you can scan the same way we did in fish, so you can start at that space between your eyebrows and smooth it. Let that cue you slowly down like water trickling to relax and soften everywhere you notice. And if you find there's a place that feels a little stuck that you're not able to release your tension from, just hit the pause and see if you can send some breath there. You might need to readjust your body a little bit. And then again, we're going to do that backwards from 10. Counting your breaths, try to become more and more relaxed with each number. Get to 1, just take a few more moments to savor how good you feel, how relaxed you are. up and bring your hands underneath to press you up. Let's turn back around and take another staff pose. So you're going to extend your legs, hands by your sides, sit tall, feel like your head's loose, and take a cleansing breath. And then we'll twist to the other side. So come to the left hip up against the bolster, knees both to the left. And then we start to twist as we frame the bolster. So left hand on the back side, right hand on the front. Thinking of the right rib coming down. So either left ear down more gentle, right ear down more deep. So play with both. That's usually what I do. Like every day is different. So I'll usually start with the gentle way. And then if I think I might want to feel a little more, I'll try the more deep way. And then once I settle into that, if it feels uncomfortable or I'm not relaxing enough, then I'll go back to the more gentle way. The one thing you always have when you're here on the yoga mat is freedom. You have total freedom to change the way you're doing things, to come out of things when you want to, when you really feel like you need to. Once you've settled into stillness with your body, notice your breath. When we're in a twist, the breath kind of feels different because of the positioning of the ribs. It changes how the breath is entering and leaving the lungs. So just experience that. Still feeling you expand as you breathe in and you relax as you breathe out. Take your time to scan, starting between the eyebrows. Taking awareness slowly down to the toes. But if there's a place that just will not relax, just pause there. Don't be in any kind of hurry here. Start counting your backwards breaths from 10 to 1. And let yourself get heavier and more relaxed with every breath. When you get to 1, just take a few more moments to savor how you feel. And then wake up slowly and just start to walk yourself back. Turn around. And again, find staff pose. Cleansing breath. Just stay here. Check in with how you're feeling. We're going to go into a little deeper version of a supported fish. It's different. So what we'll do is turn the bolster the other way, horizontally, like this. And then you can have, a big stack here for the blocks or books for your head, or a little deeper would be not so high, right? So you can find the right configuration or the right level. And this is one of those you just kind of have to experiment with until you find it just right, and every day is different. So what you'll do is bring the bolster right up against your lower back here, your lumbar spine. Use your belly to roll back, and you want your arms behind it, not on top of it, but back here. So you get that shoulder chest opener, and then you find a place for the head to rest. So, I can start low and then realize I don't really like how that feels, maybe in the neck, and then you can bring it higher. You can go even higher, like we said, stack up your blocks or books. And then same options for legs, so as the other version of fish. So you can bring your feet together and your knees apart in a little butterfly, or you can stretch your legs out on the floor. And if you choose to do one for a little while and eventually decide you'd like to go to the other, total freedom. So just check that your palms are up, and this helps your heart and shoulders to loosen, open. Check that your head is really heavy, so you don't want to hold your head up and tense your neck here at all. Position, it's also kind of nice to feel not only your belly rise, but how the chest really rises and falls as you breathe. Your scan from the third eye. It's just what we call that space between the eyebrows. And just slowly relax everything as you travel down with your awareness. You even want to feel like your tongue is relaxed, so drop your tongue down to the floor of your mouth. You'll notice that has a really big effect on your jaw. Any places that are tense or gripping or holding on, just pause and give those spaces a little extra time and attention and love. You might even in your mind say something to that space like relax or soften or let go. The longer you stay, the heavier you become. It's like we just totally give in to gravity. 10 more breaths. backwards, calming down. Savor that feeling at the bottom of the counts. And then find a little movement. Let's roll to one side to come up very mindfully. So just let one knee, it doesn't matter which, fall to the other and roll through your side. Then you can put your hands down and press yourself up. And let's take staff again. So it's really nice to always come back to a neutral position after you've done a big stretch. So we're going to go into a little deeper twist now than the one we began with. So I'm going to put a blanket between my legs. You can also do this with a block. It's just not as soft and doesn't feel quite as good. You could do it with a pillow also. So I'm going to move the bolster to the side and find my blanket and move the blocks back out of the way. So I'm going to fold my blanket an extra time so it's a little thicker. But if that's too thick for you, it's totally adjustable. So make it the right thickness that you would like. And then I'm just going to put it between my legs so that when it's there, it's about the width of my hip points from knee to knee. So you kind of find your hip points and travel and you're like, okay, I look pretty square. And then use your core. You can hold onto your thighs. Strong belly just to roll slowly to your back. Once your head is down, kind of wiggle the heels up closer to the hips. Take your arms into a T shape. And then just let your knees fall to the right. So make adjustments. I usually like to kind of take my hips to the left, away from the knees to change the orientation. But you might not need to. And then where you gaze is completely up to you. There's 3 different options. You can look to the right, you can look up, or you can look to the left. So left is going to be a little deeper. And remember, you're not glued to your choice. You can always change it later. As the sensation changes, it may not feel as good as it did when you started. So I feel like I need to make adjustments, maybe hips over more and knees closer to chest. If you get in stillness and feel the same way, then make your adjustments too. It's fine if the left shoulder is not all the way down on the floor. Sometimes that happens. It's fine. I just let it go, and as I stay, I feel like it gets closer and closer. You could also support underneath your shoulder with something around. Like you could even, kind of fold up your mat a little under you, or a pillow or another blanket. If it was really up, even a block or book. But it's fine if it isn't on the floor. So taking that body scan. It's so important. A big part of the yoga practice is body awareness. And we walk around all our lives in these bodies and aren't even always that aware of all the extra stuff the body does that we really don't need to do. And all it really does is adds more tension, which tells our mind that either something's wrong or we should be doing something that we're not. So after you feel like you've let your physical tension release, just start breathing, counting backwards from 10. When you get to 1, just a few more moments to really experience how relaxed you are. And before we roll through the back, we'll roll all the way onto the right side in a fetal position. So you can just make a little pillow with your right arm for your head to rest on. Bring your left hand in front and just pause. This will also neutralize your spine. And then feeling like you're going to roll over in one piece, core strength. Just come to the back and plant both feet. Line up your hips back under your shoulders, especially if you wiggled like I did. Take a second, you're just still holding onto that blanket between the legs, but let your back rest. You can take a cleansing breath. And then we'll move to the other side. So with the blanket here, just drop your knees left. You can open the arms in a T. You can wiggle hips to the right. You can pull your knees up closer to your chest. And then remember, you've got options for the direction of the face. So you can look left, up to the ceiling, or right. So this one I like because not only do you get a spinal rotation, but you're also getting a nice hip opener on that outside lifted hip. You also get a little shoulder opener in the fronts of the shoulders. Just feel like your shoulders keep getting heavier. Remember to let your tongue drop down. When the tongue drops down, it kind of encourages our teeth and lips to part just a little bit. Scanning for anything that's just holding on almost subconsciously, like sometimes we don't even know it. And then when we scan, we see, there's a spot. So make sure you're looking, observing. And then we'll take our backwards from 10 breaths. to 1. Just be here. Enjoy how this feels. And then as we transition, let's roll to the left side in a fetal position, so you can make a little pillow for your head with your left arm. Put your right hand in front. Just let your spine come back to a long, unspiraled back. And now we're going to come all the way up to seated. So let your hands help you. Just press yourself up. You can take the blanket away and we'll come back to staff pose. And staff, take a cleansing breath. So this next one, I'm going to use all the props. Take your 2 blocks down toward the feet and stack them. This is going to be like the opposite of the first one in the fish as far as the bolster and the blocks go. So you're going to have those stacked and then you'll make a little ramp with the bolster. The other way, like this, I'm going to sit on my blanket. So sitting on the blanket helps to create more ease in the low back and in the hips. When we have our legs extended, when we have our knees bent, like in cross-leg pose, it helps out the knees too. If you don't feel like you need it, if you're super loose in hamstrings and low back, it's totally fine just to sit on the floor. But you may just want to play with sitting on your blanket first to see how that feels. And then all you're doing is straddling the bolster, meaning that we aren't trying to go big, super wide, but they're not close either because we have this in between the legs. And then you want to feel both sits bones. So I like to kind of wiggle flesh around till I feel them down in there. Relax your feet. You don't need to flex the toes or do anything specific. Just let them fall. And then just very slowly and gradually start to lean in. So you might just kind of have your hands up here. You could rest your forearms. You can also create a little ledge by stacking your fists and putting your head down on them. If you felt you could go a little more, you can stack your palms. If you felt like you could go any farther, you can bring your hands down and just rest your forehead on the bolster. So if you need to, you can bring the blocks closer to you, more toward the middle of the bolster to make it higher, to change that elevation. So you adjust your props, adjust your body. What's so nice about this kind of practice is it's very slow. We don't feel rushed to get anywhere fast. So, you find a place and then you go, I don't know, I think I'm going to make an adjustment. And then you just mindfully do it. So we aren't just, doing things faster without much thought. Do things as we breathe and as we give our full attention to what we're doing, even, making sure you're looking at the things that you're moving if it's the props. Scan the body. So you can start, especially because maybe the forehead is connected to something, hands or the bolster. Start there by really feeling that pressure point. Soften it and then let everything start to soften below. And even though this is a symmetrical posture, doesn't mean you're going to feel the same on both sides. So just honoring your body, honoring all the differences in your sides, in the different poses. Slow down your breath.
tongue drop down to the floor of the mouth. And 10 more slow breaths here. After you've gotten to 1, notice how much you've let go of. Use a little core strength.
Walk your hands up. Come up to a tall back. Just stay with your legs for a moment, but sit tall. Take a cleansing breath. And flutter your eyes open. So let's adjust for a deer pose or a Z-sit. That's what I tend to call it. So you can take the bolster to the side. We're going to use it though. And you can move your blocks to the side. You may want to use those. I'm not going to use a blanket here, but you could. So if you want to stay up on the blanket, absolutely fine to do. And we're going to bring the bolster out in front horizontally. Then bring your right leg in the front and sweep your left leg to the back. This is where it makes like a deer antler shape or a Z, if you want to think of it that way. And we do want to try to relax the left hip down. So, it's kind of easier to pop that hip up. So let's try to soften it down. Make sure your back foot is comfortable. Sometimes for me, because that back foot goes off the mat, I put my blanket down under it, so it gives it a little bit of cushion. Not too high though, make sure your blanket's pretty thin. And then we're gonna fold. So if this is too far for you to go, you can utilize these blocks by making a little bridge, like a flat across bridge. So you can take your blocks underneath, and now you've got this nice bridge, and then you can either just kind of lean in with hands or come to the forearms, or you can bring your head all the way down and just kind of let your hands straight forward. If you made the bridge and then you were like, oh, this is just too high, I need more, you can, lower the level of the block to start and check it out. And if you still don't feel like it's enough, move the blocks completely out of the way so your bolster's flat on the floor. And even if that's not enough, there's an adjustable way. So if you're very open in this direction, you could just roll the bolster forward and just have a block at a certain level. So you can play with those levels to put your head on. So you pick. And really there's only one way to find out, and that's to try as many things as you want to here. We usually know, like when we are like, that's the one, we feel kind of like just right. I always say it's like Goldilocks, like she found that just right porridge or just right chair. So
And then once you're there, see what's tense. Often it's these traps in the neck. See if you can let those go. Sometimes it's fingers and toes. We have a way to kind of tense those up or move them without even noticing. Just finding a nice opening in your hips, in your spine. Feel heavy and rooted. This whole practice, we are on the floor, we're down, so it's very gravity driven. So we let gravity take over. We give in. We call these surrendering postures. And so it's good to learn to surrender. Like a balanced yoga practice in general, not every one of them, but in your week or your month, is to think about having equal time being active and trying to be in control, and then half the time to be passive and surrender. Because that's kind of how. Thinking of lengthening your breath. Take 10 more here, counting backwards, relaxing more deeply, feeling free to make adjustments if you need to. Just enjoy these last few moments, as relaxed as you can be. And then slowly bring yourself up. So bring your left leg around, and then just take your hands behind you, turning your fingers back, and then squeeze between your shoulder blades, lift your heart. You don't have to drop your head, but just feel long in your neck. We're countering the forward folding that we've been doing. And then just slowly come out of it to take our Z-sit or deer pose on the left. So now bring your left leg in the front and your right leg in the back. So you can support your foot here again. You can even support the inside of the knee, especially if it's off the mat or that part of the knee is a little sensitive to the pressure. Try to keep the right hip down. So if you get lucky, this way you already had it may feel good. But if it doesn't, don't just stay there. Adjust again, so you can go lower or you can lift your blocks higher if you'd like to. And it can just be the hands. It can be the forearms, stacked fists, stacked palms, or forehead down, arms extended. And then just give yourself a few breaths to see if this feels right. Sometimes it does take a little wiggling or sliding or moving to find the place. It's really important that we're comfortable Comfortable doesn't mean, not feeling at all. It just means this is a feeling where I can relax and stay for a while. Just checking that your shoulders aren't creeping up. Feel like gravity is just pulling you down and you're letting it. Slow, long, easy breathing. Taking 10 more breaths here. Relaxing more deeply with each descending number. Just enjoy these last few moments, relaxing just a little more if you can. Slowly bring yourself up and then bring the right leg around in front. And you can take your hands back again, pointing the fingers behind you. Squeeze between the shoulder blades and lift the heart. Just counter. And then we'll finally make our way to Shavasana, and I'll show you how I like to set up in the yin practice for Shavasana. So I'll use the blanket as a little pillow for my head, but it's pretty thin. You don't want it too high so you can keep your neck neutralized. And then I take the bolster up underneath my knees and leave the blocks so my heels can rest on them. You don't have to use any of these props. You can just lie flat on your back. You can use two or one of them. So you could have the heels elevated without the bolster. You could have the bolster without the heels elevated. Just make sure your heels are touching the floor, not dangling. And then if you want the pillow or not, it's up to you. But mindfully find your way down onto your back. And once you're there, make all those little adjustments that help you to feel completely comfortable so you can relax. Let your palms float up. Let your eyes close. Take a really deep breath in through your nose. And when you get to the top, as slowly as you can, let that breath out through your mouth. At the bottom, leave your tongue on the floor of the mouth and leave your lips and teeth slightly parted. Smooth out the space between your eyebrows. And then let that feeling slowly trickle down your body. So smoothing your face, your neck, and your chest. Relaxing your shoulders, arms, and hands. Relax the back of the body all the way from the skull to the tailbone. And relax the front of the body from the throat to the pubic bone. Relax your hips all the way down to your feet. Relax your shoulders all the way down to your hands. Feel like the imprint you're making on the mat continues to get deeper and bigger. Thoughts will drift in, so you just see the thought and acknowledge it. And like releasing your fingers from a helium balloon, just let it go and watch it float away. Start to deepen your breath. And then start to let some gentle movement come back in, starting with fingers and toes, maybe finding rotation in your wrists and ankles, and letting your head fall from side to side. Reach your arms over your head, stretch your legs long like a big morning stretch. And then draw your knees up towards your chest. Just give yourself a little hug. And roll on to either side. Pause for a moment in a fetal position. Keeping eyes closed. Find a comfortable way to come to seated, just cross-legged, resting the backs of your hands on your knees. Take a moment and notice how you feel. We'll take one more cleansing breath. Bring your hands together at heart center. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you.